Why, hello there. I'm Sin. We are in the Book Nook, and today we are going to talk about the book Immortal by Sue Lynn Tan. This book is a fantasy, definitely it's a romantasy. And the reason I picked this up is because I kind of fell in love with this duology that she wrote, which is called the Celestial Kingdom Duology. It is Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior. There was also another book that was tied into that, The Tales of the Celestial Kingdom, that kind of had a bunch of different stories that had to do with that duology, which was cool. And she's just a great writer. I find her writing very addictive. Jumping into this book, I was immediately pulled in, like right away. And right away too, there's like action and adventure happening. You come into the story, follows the main character, Lien. Her kingdom of Tianxia is on fire. And her grandfather is the one who takes care of the kingdom and whatnot. And she's the next in line to be the Lady of Tianxia. And so the Immortals are really mad and have come and attacked their kingdom. So stuff is on fire. And they need to get away in any way they can. And they're not really sure why the Immortals are all pissed off, but somebody did something somewhere, maybe? Who knows? Sometimes, the Immortals, they just like to stick their noses where it doesn't belong. So maybe that's what's happening. We don't know. Lien and her grandfather, and then her Aunt Shu, and her best friend and Aunt Shu's adopted son, Cheng Yin, are trying to get the F out of Dodge. And Lien, when she was born, has been born kind of with like, I don't know, they describe it as like a weaker constitution. Any kind of physical activities really overwhelms her. She gets really tired, and it seems like maybe she has a bad heart and all of this stuff. And she's been like that since she was very young, so she wouldn't always take part in different activities that would stress her out and be strenuous to her. And so they're trying to escape, and she's just not doing so well. And also, so on top of that, someone poisoned her, and they gave her the waters of this river called the Wangchun River. And that is the waters of death from the netherworld. And it's where also that some of their enemies of the Immortals and of the Kingdom of Tianxia's enemies, the Wuxum, they dwell there. And so it's like, who actually was able to get those waters out of there and then give them to her? So she's been poisoned and she's not doing very well. And her grandfather had acquired this lotus that has magical properties, and he's supposed to give it to the immortal queen Kai Hong. However, it has healing properties, and his granddaughter is dying because she was poisoned by these waters. They were trying to do everything they can, but she's just not doing good. So he gives her the lotus. This is probably not going to go over well with the mortals since they're already pissed and burned down the city. This is even before they hear about this, which they're going to find out. So he gives it to her and he's like, you guys have to get away. I'll go and stall for time and talk to the immortals, but you have to let it bond to you so they can't just take it from you. And then she goes almost like zonked out, can't really move that well when she first has it come into her, and then eventually starts to be able to function again and starts to feel better and all of that. So now she has something the queen wanted, and this is probably not gonna be good. All right. Here's another thing too. So the Wuxum, where this river is, they were banished to the Neverworld, so they're not supposed to be able to get out of there. And so how these waters came to be in this kingdom is a curious question. So is their seal to where they belong becoming weakened? Obviously, she's the next in line to take over in this kingdom, so it's, yeah, of course, people suck and are gonna try to take her out if they think she's weak and whatnot. So that seems to be why this happened. The grandfather goes to talk to the immortals. It's the queen and then the god of war. He tells them that the lotus was stolen from him. And then before they can even do anything, the grandfather has a heart attack and dies, which out of the other options, this might have, as much as it sucks, like if he had been alive, who knows, would they have tried to torture him to get that info out, or would they believe that he was lying or not? I don't know. And when Lien and Aunt Shu and Cheng Yin are trying to get away, all of a sudden there's these like winged devils that come down and try to accost them. They're not sure what they're going to do. It seems like they're going to be killed or maybe taken away. Leanne had remembered that the immortals don't really seem to give an F unless, you're doing something against them. So they're by this wall there's a wall that's built all around Tiancha, which is something that the immortals have put there so that others couldn't get to them, and they kind of have the protection of the immortals. Yeah, but the gods or the immortals only really intercept when their crap's being messed with. So there's a bunch of shrines along the wall. So Lien goes and F's up the God of War shrine. It's like, and then he comes down and he actually ends up saving them. And he's like, what are you winged devils doing here? Are you working with the Wuxum? And then like, I think he killed a couple of them and then one of them flew off or whatever. And so it seems like these Wuxum are maybe breaking out and gonna be an issue in the future. But Lien, now that she's going to be the Lady of Tiancha, she's going to have this whole kingdom to oversee, but she also wants her people's freedom. She doesn't want to be indentured to these immortals anymore because they just don't seem to have the people's best interests. They look down on them. They don't think they're as good as them. It's basically like in our actual society, like the people, like the billionaires looking down at the people that don't have money, like we're like little serfs and are insignificant to them and our problems don't frickin' matter. We don't need healthcare or, things that a functioning society should have. Anyways, if you don't realize that 9 out of 10 fantasy books are political, you have your head up your butt. Anyways, sorry I blew up. All right, so God of War comes, saves them. So now the immortals kind of want to talk to Lien because she's gonna take over. They're gonna want her to pledge her allegiance to Queen Kai. She doesn't necessarily want to do that. Like I said, she wants her people's freedom, but also you have this looming threat of these other Wuxum escaping. And so the Wuxum, the reason they were banished is because what they do, they feed on the emotions of people and basically like drain them, whether it's fear or joy or whatever. They are like energy vampires. And so like they drain people till they're like a husk of themselves. But as you get more into the story too, you see that not all of the Wuxum are absolutely horrible butt nuggets. They had been able to feed from the river of the Wangchun because that had the spirits of people who had passed on and it had like the emotions for them, but the sustenance that was coming from the river has been greatly depleted. So their leader, this Lord Dalian guy who's an evil sack of crap, is like, we gotta go out, and he wants to basically like feed on the people of Tiancha. So you have that going on too. And then Leanne will learn about this and she kind of has to decide like what the priorities are. Like, she, no matter what, wants to support her people. She wants to take care of those who matter. And it doesn't matter, like, she wants to help the farmers and the laborers, not just the stupid snobby buttholes that are in her court that are trying to suck up to her or like, just be skeevy greedy individuals. It is an addictive story. I love Sue Lynn Tan's writing. There's a romance in it, and the romance is, it tells you right in the synopsis, the romance, that there's a forbidden attraction. Lien is super attracted to the God of War, and it seems like the God of War is also super attracted to her. Will they? Won't they? Will they? Who knows? It's a romantasy. What do you think happens? Well, you'll have to read it to find out. And it's awesome. It's a great fantasy book. It's addictive, it's vibrant. The descriptions are just very picturesque and paint a beautiful picture. Also, Sue Lynn Tan has the most beautiful book covers ever. They're always so pretty. And not only is her cover so pretty, her stories are awesome. So if you want to judge a book by its cover, like these books are amazing. Get them just because of the cover and stay for the words inside the pages. Also, if you're curious about the other Sue Lynn Tan books I mentioned, the next video coming up we'll go with the first book in the duology, Daughter of the Moon Goddess. So stick around, check that out if you are interested. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.